listening to the Punisher Waterfowls, the Union 0430 podcast. Brought to you by Real Geese Decoys, the most technological advanced silhouette decoys on the market. And Vortex Canada, the force of optics.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Union 0430, episode 114. We've got the man, Mr. Shawn Stahl, on with us tonight, and we're going to dive into, because I really want to dive into the Stahl's calls that are currently being offered up at Tangle Free right now, and a great price too, Shawn. Like a really good price on those calls. So I want to talk about that. We're going to probably talk some hockey, just because we don't get to talk much hockey with our American guests. But with Shawn being in Detroit, being from Michigan, close to Hockey Town, he's got that Red Wings blood running through him. So we got Dave up in Concordan, Mark down in Nova Scotia, as I mentioned. Shawn is in Michigan, and I'm outside of Kingston, Ontario. So welcome everybody to tonight's episode. This is going to be this one's going to be all over the place. I can already tell right off the bat. There's going to be absolutely no structure to this whatsoever.
That's perfect. About like my life.
I'm
Shawn,
trying to think of a Trailer Park Boys reference, something to do with like a shit rope or something.
Shit rope.
Trying to push a shit rope, Ricky.
With that being said, Shawn, do you ever watch that show Letterkenny?
Oh yeah.
So have you watched Shoresy yet?
No, I have not. I am honestly so busy this summer that I haven't caught much TV at all. Buddy,
check out Shoresy, because it is. I watched the first season like last week week before. Holy fuck. It's funny, man. It is some funny stuff into it.
Kind of hard to believe you can go up on Letterkenny, but yeah.
I think it's better.
Liners in Letterkenny that you can't laugh because you miss stuff, It's kind of turned a kid when I say 20 years old, but I watch that show.
My daughter has started watching Letterkenny with me, right? And she's 16. She's got the same sense of humor as I do, but there's some shit in Letterkenny that I'm just like, man, should I be watching this with my 16-year-old daughter? You know what I mean?
The first show I watched was when the Amish kid, the Dick kid, looking for their kids.
Yeah, Mr. and Mrs. Dick.
I'm looking at Dick, and he's just okay.
Yep. You're speaking of. Do you remember when Deadpool 2 came out?
Who?
Kobe, my son, he was like what, 10 at the time, 11 years old at the time.
Yeah.
Deadpool 2 comes out and he's like, Dad, I want to go see this. I'm like, yeah, I don't fucking care.
Yeah.
I go in and I look around and he's the only person under like 19 or 20 years old in the whole fucking and I'm going, and then the very opening lines are like, hopefully you didn't bring your kid to watch this. And I'm like, fuck.
Worst
I forget
ever.
exactly what it said, but everyone in the room looked at me like, you're an asshole.
Dad of the year.
Yeah. Dad of the year, yeah.
You ever see that movie? What is it? Bad Grandpa?
Yeah.
Apparently there's two of those different ones like that. Well, we watched the one where the opening scene, he was sitting in the chair and the grandkid walked in. You remember that one? Yeah, that was my kid was pretty young, and I'm like, oh my god. Yeah, and it was recommended as kid friendly. I was like, no.
Yeah, no. Well, I watched. Again, my daughter has the same sense of humor as I do. So the other night I was like, let's watch The Hangover. I'm like, it's so funny. So I watched The Hangover. She had a pretty good laugh, but there were some parts in it where she just.
But you know what though, it's the kids today are exposed to so much stuff on outside school, outside on social media and everything.
Well,
if they're going to get exposed to that, I'd rather have it when I'm sitting next to them.
Well, that's what she said to me when I was like, "Oh man," I said, should I be watching this with you?" And she looked at me. She was like, "Dad, I'm 16 years old, and I have boys that are 16-year-old boys that are my friends. You think I don't hear this stuff?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I guess so. I think it's just a little weird to be watching it with your dad, though, right?"
Mason said, he goes, "Dad, I go to public school." And I was like, okay.
Touche, touche. Shawn, so again, we'll be all over the place tonight, but the Stahls calls, the 50th anniversary of Tangle Free, which, still, even though we had Corey on not very long ago, but 50 years for Tangle Free. And now, like, you've been such a big part with Tangle Free, and you've got your own thing with R&T, with the Goose crew, and doing the Goose calls and stuff like this. How does that relationship work, and with you and Tangle Free and R&T and everything that you've got on the go, because you are a fairly busy man. How many of these calls are available, first off, and then talk about the price, because I think the price is really good for that call.
Yeah. So it's what it is. It's a limited run of a call that we make. And there's 50 of them available. Actually, only 49. The 50th one, if you want that call, you got to win the photo contest at Tangle Freeze.
Okay.
So it's just something, a collaboration, co-branding type thing to work with our partner. Tangle Free's been real active participant in RNTV for us for years. So it was just something to co-brand and get together and do something together. So it turned out really good. It's a great, the call sounds awesome.
It's a sharp looking call too.
Collecting, nice collector's item.
So I know I said it before we hit the recording button that I was surprised that you're sitting in your living room, because I thought you'd be on the road by now.
Well, I was out in the barn, and I was loading the trailer, and then I might leave next week. So I was getting it loaded, and then a buddy sent me a picture and said, "Hey, we got geese on the pond. You want to hunt it this weekend?" So then I stopped loading that. We're going to go on a boat hunt in the morning. So then I had to move the trailer and pull the boat out, do all that. And then I seen it was 7 o'clock or about 6:30, and I hadn't ate yet today. So, so I decided to come in and grab something to eat. And I got some geese in the backyard. I was watching them for a minute and jumped on the phone with you.
Awesome. Are you coming up to Canada this year?
Been already, headed soon, and hopefully headed back again.
Okay.
So yeah, my planning, Jim Ronquist was with us for years at Richardson, and he's since moved on to a new position. So all of his responsibility, or most of his responsibility regarding the TV show, I kind of took on. So it's just been 2 plates full of stuff and stuff running off, and I haven't. My planning is not like it's normally been. Normally, I know everywhere I'm going and dates by now. So, still a work in progress, but we'll get her.
Yeah, absolutely. I know last year you ended up down in New Brunswick hunting with Maddie Wilson and the boys. That must have been a great hunt. I remember I listened to the episode of their podcast where you were on, but like that had to have been a great hunt.
The funny part, like Ryan, I hear it a lot, but I've hunted from. I've now hunted from Eastern Washington all the way across New Brunswick, and so I've seen a lot of stuff. The Front Range of Colorado, the St. Lawrence River, Manitoba, Saskatchewan, all that down south. I've hunted as far south as Louisiana, so I've seen a lot of stuff. And Ryan kept saying, "Man, I can't wait for you to get here." And I was just stoked about going. It's always fun to go new places and meet new faces and see stuff. And he's like, "Can't wait for you to get out here and show you something you've never seen before." And I'm like, "Right. They're Canada geese. It's, and we get out there and it's like, holy cow. Like, he gave me the address where we're staying, and we turned off the main road, and there really wasn't any fields. And we turned off the main road and just started going up this hill, and your ears are popping, and you're like, where? And I told the guys, I said, man, he did say goose and not moose. I swear to God that. Because I mean, we're just going up this mountain, and we come over the top of the mountain and drop down, and a little bit of elevation, and boom, there's their lodge. It's like, holy crap. But just, when you hear the geese and you're looking for them, you're looking up, that's natural. Look up. Well, no, you're looking down in the valley below as you're getting off the river and coming, trading up and down the river valley and coming up into the mountain, up the side of the mountain to feed. And, we hunt a lot of flat stuff, or with, what I say flat compared to what they do, but you're on the side of hills,
Mhm.
So it was definitely different, and those geese are, they're kind of like the stuff that you have, around Kingston or around D. Roy's place and whatnot. They work real vertical coming in. They don't need a lot of real estate to work out and come in like some of these jumbos do, and these bolts that we chase a lot. So, it's fun to watch them because you get them spinning, and then all of a sudden they could be 80 to 100 yards up and just straight down.
Just elevator down.
Wingtips to tail feathers and do it.
Are you hooking up with D-Roy this fall at all?
Hope to. We don't have anything planned yet.
Okay.
There's my planning stages, but yeah, hope to do something. Even if last year we just stopped by and said hi, and man, it's just been a few years now.
Yeah.
Those great guys, and just fun. We always have fun. And, the more I travel around. I mean, hunting's hunting. You cluck cluck boom. And it's the people, man, that make it fun. It really is. And they are good dudes. Joshy, Maddie, Davey, all that crew, just super good dudes.
Yeah, no, they are good dudes. Who was it? Liam we were with, Dave, this past spring, I think. Yeah, it was Liam.
Oh,
yeah. We were with Liam this past spring on snows. Josh was up a little bit north of us, and Dave was just running the roads at that time, trying to find birds. But yeah, they are, and in my opinion, in Ontario, he's one of two that I would say are the only real outfitters that's in Ontario, right? That's my opinion, but I'm sure I'll probably get a bit of flack back about that. But
only two outfitters I know is Luke at Wing Feather.
And that's exactly what I'm thinking.
I mean, I'm sure there's others. That's just the only two I really know.
Well, I think you're the only two that's
there's several that chum around like St. Clair that are pretty good and whatnot. But
yeah.
Stanley.
Yeah.
Stanley's pretty good.
Just saw him the other day. Saw him at the restaurant.
Oh, were you down there?
Yeah.
He's interesting fellow, eh? I like the guy. He's an interesting fellow.
Blast. More casting than blasting, but that's part of it.
Yeah.
We were trying to do some early goose hunts.
Okay. Yeah. Because that's a quick hop over for you, right?
It's just a couple hours away.
Yeah. So what's coming up? So what are we looking? And I'm asking you this now after you've told me that your planning stage is a little bit mixed up, Shawn, and everything. But it's sort of it's the train of thought that's going through my head that's going on. But like, what's coming up for the Goose Crew this year? Like, have you quasi made a plan? Like, where are you hitting?
A little bit of moving and shaking. We've kind of quasi got a plan. We're doing. I've got a TV show we're working on called the Goose Express. It's going to be kind of a little bit of narration and going through. I started out as an outdoorsman, but I was a fisherman before I was a hunter. You couldn't hunt till you're 12 here. So, I mean, growing up, I probably fished, 4 to 5 times a week, up until I was probably 26, 27 years old. And I'd camp all summer. I got my first boat when I was
12.
Had a old Johnson 2.5 outboard, a Shakespeare trolling motor, and then a 12-foot flat bottom. And we camped, and I'd fish every day, all day. Didn't matter. I'd bass fish, then move on to the pike, come in and try to, eat some lunch and catch some bluegills off the dock, cut them up, chum up some snapping turtles and dogfish, catch them, and go back out at night for dog. I mean, I was pretty tan, but so kind of, go along that line of, so I bought that boat and I wanted something. You're gonna spend that much money on a boat, you want something that you could use most of the year. We did some fishing this summer, filmed that for it, and then we've got the blind build, obviously, that we built the blind on it and showed some transformation of that, and then some good for it, and then got a TV show on the Stahl's Calls itself we're working on, and then another one called Meet the Molt.
Meet the what? Sorry, you cut off there, buddy.
MOLTS. It's just
Meet the Molts. Yeah.
How'd you spell meat? MEAT or MEET?
I haven't. That's a good idea. But so the resident goose population has just exploded. Here comes Frank. The resident goose population just exploded, and the molts, which are the subadults, the 1 to 3 year old non-breeders, and then the unsuccessful breeders, all fly north. They go way up past you guys, up, wings will take them, and then there's some of the first birds to come back, and they're so much fun to hunt. They can be a little bit finicky because they're all adults, but so we're going to do a show on those and get a biologist involved. I got Ryan Asker, and he's done several studies on transmitter birds and whatnot, and do some discussion on that and talk about how they move. And they don't tend to take a lot of pressure. So it's like, we'll go find a group. We actually have to find 3 to 5 groups when we go on these trips that are not together on a roost or anywhere apart, because once you shoot in them once, there's no saving them. It doesn't matter. You could go in and shoot half of them and get out, and they just bust. They leave town, and he's got some data. We were up on a hunt, and he says, "Yeah, I got a bird up in that area," and it was after the hunt that day, and I said, "Man, we were right in that area," and he showed me the telemetry stuff. I'm like, "Yeah, shoot, that bird was using all 3 fields that we had permission for up there, and we hunted the one." And he said, "Yeah, but it's mid-afternoon and she's already past the state line, headed south in Minnesota." Yeah, she just like heard the shoot and said, "Home, I'm out of here." That the next morning she was back on the marsh that she got banded on.
Wow.
In no time. So just some talk about that, the molt migration and whatnot. But
do you think
sorry,
Shawn, to cut you off, but do you think that now, and I'm not taking anything away from all the videos and all the people that are out there that are showing birds getting dropped and stuff, because there's always going to be a desire to watch those videos of birds being dropped and stuff, but there's so much of it out there right now. Do you think that there's an appetite more now than what it was in the past for knowing that, like, being educated about the birds and knowing more about what they're doing, why they do it, where they're coming from, subspecies, all that shit? Like, do you think there's more of an interest in that now compared to before?
I would say yes to a point, but you got to remember the circle of where you're at. You just want to see stuff fall, and then you want to learn, and then you want to become a mentor, and it just we go through progressions, and I think sometimes that's where we're at. But for TV, and I think that's a good avenue, because I mean, quite honestly, you can turn on your cell phone, on social media and YouTube, and you can see stuff fall. There's only so many ways you can show a bird get shot before it's just not super entertaining. That the old days in the 90s of rock music and birds falling, that's people really don't care to see that anymore. They need to be
stimulated.
Visually stimulated, I guess.
Yeah.
Continuously, and that's what sometimes some of the educational stuff gets a little lost, because it takes too long to to talk. Just fast-paced moving stuff is what seems to be the deal now. Something that gives you visual orgasms, I guess.
Yeah. I get you.
Got to be pleasing.
It's got to be pleasing to the eye, but it also has to be like everything's getting shorter and shorter and shorter, right? Like, are you noticing that too when you guys are filming?
People's attention spans are so short, and that's that's why we try to move around a little bit. Some of the stuff we're doing, show some hunting, show some education, show some cooking, show some lifestyle, laughing, fun, all that kind of stuff, and just keep it moving.
Mm-hmm. Well, and you alluded to it earlier, like you've been all over the place hunting. You've seen everything when it comes to geese and how they act, and now it's about the people.
I wouldn't
right?
say everything. Because, man, like if you say that, then you might as well hang up your boots. Because, if that was the case, we'd show up in the field and shoot every flock to come in. And
True.
I mean, not a day goes by that you don't learn something one way or another. And I always say it's funny, because like you get invited somewhere and you show up there and you pull in with the trailer and you drop the doors and they're like, all right, what do you want to do? And you're like, what do you want to do? Like,
yeah. This is your
here.
area. Yeah.
What are these birds doing? Don't expect me to pull out any magic pills. And I can, if you kind of tell me a few things and, what's working, what isn't working, what you've been doing, well, where the birds are roosting, if we're hunting an X, running traffic, I can kind of pull on past experiences, but, you still got to have local knowledge all the time. Local knowledge. It's so important.
Okay.
Freeze up.
That was the break that for the boys to jump in. I wanted to talk to you about this because it's been all over social media for the last, I don't know, probably two or three weeks. But this ban which I gotta say surprises me, because I thought it would have been a Canada thing, that they would have banned it before the States would have banned it. But the Americans, they banned the importation of birds coming out of Canada. But now they've reversed that, and now they've said it's okay. And you, if you're up in Canada hunting, you can bring birds back and stuff like that. But from you and your circle of friends, Shawn, that are bouncing back and forth across the border all year long, like, was that a concern of yours? And
not really. So, like,
okay,
I had a game ward one time. He checked me a couple times, and he's like, "When are you leaving?" And I said, "Well, I think tomorrow." And then we didn't leave the next day. A couple days later, and he's like, "Yeah, he said, even if you guys aren't shooting the limit every day, which I'm pretty sure you are, you can't possibly be eating all these birds." And I was like, "No, Chris, we haven't." And his eyes got like, "Oh, I got you." And I'm like, I said, we eat birds every day. I said, every day we have at least one meal out of these. We have a giant cookout for farmers and locals. And we've got a Hutterite colony there with 25 people. We've got a lady that likes to take all the ducks. We've got a big rancher. He likes to can a bunch of them. And I said, man, I said, legally, you won't let us shoot enough for, for us to give to everybody that wants them. We've been to this area and developed a network of people that, we let us on their lands. And, one lady, she wants the ducks, and, a couple people here want some geese. The Hutterites want some geese. And it's like, between everything we do, we don't have any to take back unless we want to get something mounted or, have some other need for them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So none of them go to waste. That's for,
no, of course.
That's 100%, because if it's, we'll take them home if they're going to go to waste.
Yeah.
But we come up with pretty creative ways, if we're there for a week to 10 days or whatever. And goose stroganoff, teriyaki goose. We
goose
grind some
gumbo.
up. You name it. We got a buddy there that's just so good at, and he'll research stuff, and he'll send us stuff, a week or two beforehand and say, hey, I'm thinking about trying this. Or what do you think about this? I'm like, hey, go for it, man. honestly, people, they when I tell them about it, and they kind of, eat some of it, they was like, yeah. And I'm like, honestly, if I didn't tell you this stuff was waterfowl, you wouldn't think it was. And
that's right.
You just, it's absolutely amazing how good it is. Like I could eat, well, we eat the waterfowl every day we're there, but I'd rather eat that than I would a ribeye. Most, I'm good for a ribeye like maybe once a month.
Right.
But I could eat the waterfowl the way, some of the recipes he makes and stuff that we do on the road every day easily. It's a good source of protein cooked right. It's great.
Yeah, of course it is. Dave.
So I can edit this out if I'm going to get some flack and if you think I should, but have you heard any rumors about permits up here for like the bait permits, like Mitchell's Bay and that being canceled? And how do you think that's going to affect things?
Yeah, they're not allowed to bait this year. And that's avian influenza.
And that's because they don't want the birds congregating together. And
they don't want them congregating in close proximity to each other, which I understand. I don't know. I talked to several people when we were over there in Ontario. I talked to them. They all seem to think that it's the sky's falling or whatnot, because some of them clubs they go haul in grain wagons, just dump them on the ground. And I mean, I don't know how familiar you are with it over there. There's several clubs, they don't get hunted a lot.
Yeah.
And all they do, I mean, if at all, for the whole season, but they get managed and taken care of. They're owned by some very, very wealthy individuals, and some of them just like coming over there and watching them, and and so they hold a lot of birds that never, between Walpole Island and then on the state side, you got Harson's Island, which is state managed area of flooded corn. It's right across the border of the river from Walpole, and then you've got all the clubs along the east and southern shores that hold all these birds that hunters never see. So I told him, I said, man, I don't know. It might make the lake better. It's a wait and see. It might make some of the ag fields better. These birds are still going to stop there. And as long as there's a food source for them somewhere, and if you've ever been down there, it's a salad bowl area. I mean, there's a little bit of everything for them to eat on out there, from cereal grains, corn to carrots and tomatoes and you name it. So I and the lake ducks are still going to be there anyway, feeding on the wild celery. So I don't know. I think it could possibly be a good thing for the public waterfowlers, maybe.
Yeah.
So we'll see. We'll see.
Do you think it's still going to affect the hunt? How to put it? What's that?
Do I need to turn on a light? I'm pretty dark here.
No, I think it's good. Yeah, we can see it fine.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's probably because mine's too bright.
Oh.
But is it going to change Walpole? Like, are they going to move those, or not Walpole, but like Mitchell's Bay and that with those? Because if you ever hunt in a boat, you kind of 400 meters out in the lake, right? Do you think, is that going to change, or do you know?
No, all the stake lines are still there. So they still have that. You still got to be, is it 300 meters or whatever it is? You got to be within that distance of the stake line. So, and what that is, people don't know. That's the lake water level has changed throughout time, and there used to be a levee system around there, and they had their original property lines are actually deeded out into the lake where the old levees were that have since washed away from high water and whatnot. So they actually physically own out into the lake. Now they cannot stop you from fishing in it. Now Walpole can, but the actual private landowners around there can't stop you from going in there and fishing. You just can't hunt in there. Walpole is a separate deal. You got to have for fishing, you got to have a boat, Walpole boat license, and individual Walpole Island fishing licenses. For hunting, if you take a boat in there, you have to have a Walpole boat, but you also have to have a native guide on there, so you can't just go in there and hunt.
Yeah.
No. And that's probably not as well managed as it used to be either. Isn't taken care of as well today. So I don't know. We'll see. Hey, guess what? That's what I was telling Stanley, and then I said, guess what? We're still going to go. So we'll find out. So we'll see what happens.
And for people, who have been down
that's
there,
the big deal. What's that?
Oh no, I was just saying, like, for people that haven't been down there, like, call Stanley Guide Service there and go for a hunt, because it's phenomenal. Any guys that come up here from the States now, that's where I want to take them. Like, just look at this. This is kind of neat. Something you got to see.
He goes every day too. So, I mean, he's in a big boat, and so we'll see, you know. And that's the deal. Change. People see change as an obstacle, and I see it as an opportunity. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah. And for what some people might see is like, the change is going to happen regardless. So there's going to be people who just focus on the negatives, but there's going to be positives come out of this. You just got to find them.
Mm-hmm.
That they getting permit, that like you could do that. In the States, that's not, I mean, States, the law, I mean, simplifying it. You're not allowed to bait, period. And you're also not allowed to, well, how's it read? Reasonably known or reasonably should have known that the field was baited or the birds are traveling to and from a baiting. So say I know birds are coming off a roost and flying 2 miles out to a baited area. I can't get in between them and try to hunt. That's illegal here in the States. Because I did know that they were, traveling to a bait site, and I was taking advantage of their flight path going in. So that's kind of how harsh these laws are here. And that's why, when I hunt a field in the morning, I always, a new field, I walk around a lot looking and making sure that, nobody juiced it up, because we don't need that.
Oh, right. Yeah. Due diligence on your part, right?
Yeah. Well, you got to try. I mean, goes back to the known or should have known kind of part of the.
Yeah. And as long as you're putting in your part and making sure that you're satisfying yourself, like, that should be good enough to say, like, you shouldn't.
You would hope, I hope. Like, there's so many rules in waterfowling. I mean, so many that I mean, forget to sign. You forget to sign your duck stamp here in the state. There's so many. In the state of Michigan, you're not allowed to have an uncased gun in or around a motorized vehicle. That means when you get done hunting and you got your gun there and you're going to put it in the case, you can't lean it against your truck. That's on a motorized vehicle. In a boat, you cannot have an uncased gun in your boat while the boat is moving. So when you go chase a cripple, you got to put your gun in the case. I mean, there's so many of these, and I love what I do, and I 100% am not trying to do, to break any rules. And if I do it unknowing, like I went and I pride myself in reading the rule books, and I thought I knew. And we're up in Northern Ontario, and we're actually hunting with 3 game wardens, and we set up in the morning, we get done putting out decoys, and it's time to go move the trailer. The sun's just about, getting close to shooting time. So I grab my gun out of the trailer, take it out of the case, set it in the blind. He's like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "You're gonna go park the trailer." He said, "I know, but what are you doing?" I said, "I'm gonna go park." He said, "Obviously I'm doing something wrong here. What, tell me what's going on here." And he said, "Well, in the province of Ontario, you're not allowed to have an uncased gun or a loaded gun until shooting time." And I was like, "Hey, learned something new there." I mean, he wasn't going to write a ticket or nothing, but it was something I should know. And when you travel around so much, it's so easy to get caught up. And I mean, some states down south, you can have a gun out of the case in the front seat, right beside you, shells in the magazine, but not in the chamber.
Right.
And you get up where, Michigan, it's one of the strict. It's like, it's got to be in a case, and you can't have shells, that kind of stuff. So, yeah.
And that's one of the things that I've started looking at lately is when we're planning trips, and especially with the kayaks, like certain states, you have to have a registered kayak or this kayak. Like you got to really watch those rules.
And yeah, there's so many rules.
And you got to think about the rules, not only like while you're hunting and what you're hunting, but how you're hunting, how you're getting there too. Right. So
Yeah.
Here's a new one that I heard the other day. Here in Ontario now, and I don't know if you've heard this, Shawn, but so I always remove my plugs out of my boat after I pull my boat out, put it on the trailer. I always remove my plugs right there at the launch, and then travel to wherever it is that I'm going. Well, there's a lot of people that don't remove their plugs, for whatever reason, but it's now become, I'm not sure if it's becoming a law, if it's a law right now, or it's becoming a law, but you have to 100% remove your plugs at the launch now at that body of water before you move to another body of water.
Well, and it even goes here, you're supposed to remove any vegetation that's bottom of your boat or the trailer or any of that stuff. But I really wish there was a way to go in and simplify some of the rules in waterfowling. There's so many rules that are outdated, antiquated, that it makes it easier to do the wrong thing than it does to do the right thing.
That's
sometimes.
right.
It's just like transporting birds and having to tag them, and we're beyond the days of market hunting, and limits are so extreme in some places. There are no limits on sometimes, and sometimes there's 15, sometimes there's this, and possession limits in your freezer, and well, if it's a 3 bird limit now during this month, but then it goes to 15 before, and then it's like and leaving a wing on. I mean, we're in a day and age where if you really want to know what something is, you can get a DNA test done on it pretty quick, but leaving a wing on it is just, it makes it easier for somebody to say, no, I don't want to keep it, just pitch it instead of taking it home and putting it to good use. So and I don't
Mark,
know.
did you have something?
Yeah, I'm just going to expand on what you were talking about, Damien. So it says here, boaters in Ontario must now remove or open their drain plug while trailering a boat over land and take reasonable precautions to remove all weeds, animals, and algae from their boat or trailer, according to the rules that became effective on January 1st.
Okay, so it is law now.
Ontario regulated watercraft, boats, canoes, and kayaks as carriers of invasive species under the Invasive Species Act. Remember that, Dave? Kayaks included.
And again, some of these rules, are they written by people that actually, like in that instance, fish and go and know that most of these waterways are connected in one way or another? Most of them, it's like this avian influenza deal. If I got a boat and I'm on Lake St. Clair and I pull my boat out of there and run to Lake Erie, guess where that water goes from Lake St. I mean, it's just, and the water that's coming in off, the Huron River coming out of Lake here. It's just, or the St. Clair River, I should say. And
if you're fishing along
there's not a lot of common sense in some of the rules that are written, like even the avian influenza. And I'm glad that common sense did prevail on that, because for a while there, it was never illegal at first for Americans to bring birds back, or even you to bring birds back if you were going out west. There were certain avian influenza hotspots if you looked at the map, and it didn't, like, I looked at Manitoba and Saskatchewan, it didn't cover the whole province. It was just certain little 10, 20 square mile radiuses. I mean, who comes up with that? I mean, these birds, they move around so much. They might fly that far coming off the roost to go feed, let alone flying across borders and whatnot.
Well, just think of your story earlier of that goose, right? That crossed over state line before the afternoon. Like, that's the thing. But without going too far down into this, like, I honestly think it's just policy writers that just make something just to appease the masses, right? Like it doesn't make any sense. There's no science behind it. It's just, well, we'll put this rule out there, and then the people that are really concerned about it, well, it'll make them happy, more or less.
That's not outdoor world. That's in politics in general. It's us guys, the practical people, that got to pay for those decisions. But
that's right.
That's going down a long rabbit hole there.
Yeah, big time.
Yeah.
Big time.
Shoveler eats a piece of corn and has a shit over, like, eats a piece of corn here, has a shit down in Lake St. Clair, and it fucking grows a corn cob, right? Like,
well,
yeah.
It's the CWD deal with the deer and stuff. I mean, deer, they identify each other. They stick their nose to each other, and that's, so they don't let us bait anymore. You used to be able to put out 5 gallons of bait for deer, and they said they didn't want nose-to-nose contact with deer. Well, that's what deer do when they see each other. They come up and sniff each other. Just like, it's not doing it. It makes people feel like they're doing stuff, but in the end, maybe it doesn't do anything.
It's a little more elegant than when dogs meet each other in the waterfowl world.
Dogs meet me.
Yeah. How that's something. How's Carl with a K doing this year with regards to the field trial, Shawn?
Man, he hasn't done worth the crap this year. He's a couple jams. That's about it.
Yeah.
I'll pick him up here next week. So I'll pick him up. But I mean, he's been, right there. Just hadn't gotten it done. That's a tough sport, man.
It is, man. And I'm starting to see it now. How quick and how easy it can be to not get a call back. It's insane, to be honest with you.
It's hard to, people that run hunt tests, it's hard to explain, how'd your dog do? Well, he went out in the water blind. Oh, mine got 2 master passes this weekend. Well, I mean, great. That's awesome.
Yeah.
But it's just 2 totally different games, and it's so
100%.
And if you got 75 dogs and they're trying to pick one winner, you might go out on a bird, they might throw a quad and you go out and hunt one bird. And when I say hunt, you get to the area and put on a 3 to 5 second hunt to get that bird, and that bird's 300-400 yards out. You might get dropped, because they're trying to find a winner,
That's right.
Your dog really didn't do anything bad,
It's just a competition. The competition is that tight, right? Like that's what could end you. It's not that you've done anything wrong. It's just everybody else in front of you just did it way better.
Yeah. Oh, and I mean, there's sometimes the dog just totally messes up, but sometimes like you're scratching your head. You're like, man,
they'll humble you.
That really wasn't that bad. Yeah.
That's what I've learned is when you think that your dog is a rock star, she'll still humble you.
Them dogs that are competitive in all age, have all age points, they are rock stars. I mean, they really, you might get dropped on a landblind because you didn't hit a keyhole at 350 yards. You didn't get between 2 bushes that are 15 feet apart at 300 yards, so you get dropped. That's just how hard it is.
Yeah, absolutely. So now listen, let's get down to the real important stuff here now. The hockey season is less than a month away.
Less than a month. It started today. The Red Wings prospect tournament started today.
Yeah, but that's just
I keep looking up. I'm trying to find it on the YouTube channel. They got it.
That's just prospects to Damien, but that's like the Leafs competition to everyone else.
Well, yeah. Well, hey, listen, I'm opening when I talk hockey, I'm opening myself up to a whole bunch of friggin' insults, but it is like it's coming around. Detroit's on the rebound, right? Like they've had a couple rough years.
They have Yzerman. That's what they have.
Well, that dude's a genius too, right? Like genius.
The Yzer plan.
Yeah.
Can everybody here say honestly to themselves that their team has improved this year?
Your team has your team has improved.
It's his team.
As much.
Hey, how about Ottawa?
Ottawa's improved more than I think Ottawa and Calgary. I think Calgary has improved the most in the entire league.
Mhm.
Personally.
No, I think they
A little
kind of
bit.
stayed on par with where they were more than
They
anything.
lost
Oh, I
Goudreau and Kachuk, and they gained Huberdeau and
Uyghur.
Kadri.
Uyghur and Kadri.
Kadri, fuck that.
I don't know, man. I think Calgary done well. Montreal, yeah, they brought in some pieces, but
Montreal's still at the bottom.
Did
Yeah.
Toronto have a parade for Kadri when he brought the Stanley Cup to Toronto?
they did actually.
Nice.
He did
Love
have
it.
he did have a big deal. He was riding around in his Aston Martin with the Stanley Cup in the front seat and gave himself his own fucking parade. So good to the Lebanese dream there. He did it, but seriously, guys, like the hockey season started. It's good that the Red Wings are on a rebound because the Lions are still the Lions. The Tigers are
They
still
suck.
the Tigers are still the Tigers, but the Red
The
Wings.
Bengals.
A whole lot of sucking going on in Detroit, honestly.
But and for so many
Red-
years, like they done like fuck, man, like the Red Wings in the 90s were just unstoppable.
You got 25 years of it. It's got to fall, and the salary cap era came on. Couldn't just go buy players. But yeah, no, that's when hunting season starts. About when hockey season starts for me.
Yeah.
This early season, like I'll go. It's all right. I mean, I'm just not ripping to go until we get a frost on the ground. The pucks are hitting the ice. That's
You
know,
need to have north winds to freeze the rinks, right?
yeah. There you go. And it starts feeling like hunting season, but it's getting to the point. You know, here in Michigan, we've got a 107-day long goose season, so it's kind of hard to go. I mean, it might have been a time in my life where I'd have tried to go 107 days straight, but it ain't happening no more. I'm pick and choose my spots and other stuff done, some work done in the other times.
Well, you know, you can only be on the road so much. You can only be away from home so much, and that's reality, right? Like I know we all wish that we could. I know, and Mark knows this more than anybody, but I can't do day after day after day after day after day. It just beats the shit out of me as much as I want to. But I really do. It just kicks my ass, just constantly going and scouting and up early and eating on the road. And it's just, I can't do it as much as I wish I could. I really can't. And that's just life. But I tip my hat to these young fellas now, because I see them and how horny they are, and they're out there, and I'm like, get her in you now, boys, because time's not on your side, and at some point you're going to slow down.
Well, it does that too, but some of it's big bull, little bull. And, I love to hunt, so I will go. But if I've got other things going, I'll pick the spots. If work I got to get done, I'm going to get work done. If I got family stuff that needs to be done, I'm going to get that done. Fish are bite. If the fish are biting, I'm going to go fishing. And pick your spots. So. Some of that just comes with a little wisdom as you age, I guess.
Awesome. Fucking boys. And
Talking about big bull, little bull.
anyways, boys totally threw me out because they sent me a message. I think the gray in my mustache looks like something else there.
Okay, well, it's been cleared up anyway.
Yeah. Yeah, big time. Boys, we're getting close to that 60-minute mark, and so I think time to tie this one up and put it to bed. But Shawn, anything that you, I guess, words of wisdom, because we didn't really get into it tonight, and we have in past episodes with you where you've sort of kind of give I don't want to say advice, but you've sort of kind of give your mentality, your thought process on things. Like you used to talk about the evolution of the waterfowler and what was old is now new again, and all those things. Is there anything that you want to push out to, and I don't want to say to the new hunter, because I think the new hunter gets a lot of flack, because I think a lot of people point out the new hunter when, in my opinion, it's mostly fellas that are just set in their ways and they won't change. But is there anything you got to say for any hunters out there with regards to how they're going to attack this season?
How to attack this season, I think first and foremost is our hunter recruitment rate is getting lower and lower every year. We're losing more people than we're gaining. And I think waterfowlers in general, we can be jerks. We can be downright jerks. We try to beat each other to the fields. It's so cutthroat, fist fight. It's embarrassing to say that, but they get into that. And the thing that we need to bring more people in this sport. So try to get kids out, try to get adults out, try to get women out, and get them introduced in the sport. Hopefully they want to continue to, into the sport, but even if they don't, they're going to understand it. And when this stuff comes to a vote, and they're going to understand that we're not barbaric like some of the other side tries to portray. So, if I had to say anything to anybody, this season and in the future, is get people out hunting, show them the right way to do things, teach them the whole entire process from start to finish, scouting, setting decoys, preparation of the wild game, cleaning, all that good stuff, and the benefits that it has, wild game, as opposed to going and eating fast food. And the more people we bring into the sport, the stronger we are. And I know there's a short term, you take somebody hunting, and the next thing you know, they're knocking on the door, the farmer's door, trying to get on the field. But some of that's if you take me to your spot, I'm not going to go knocking on that guy's spot, knocking on the door on that thing. I'm not even, it's just out of the question. That's your spot. That's, if I ever go hunting there again, it's because you invited me, but that just, it happens, and I see so much, we get every year. I laugh right here in town. It just seems like every year you get a good field around town. It's 1st September. And then some kids have seen these birds roost on the river in town all summer long. And they think, oh yeah, I'm going to go in there and get them. And they go in there at daylight, bust the roost, and ruin everybody's hunt around town. And if you could get a hold of them people and just teach them and train them, and
that's right,
the right way to do it, the big bull, little bull, you're going to run down there, probably not shoot any, but if you were to sit back and go out in the field, you're probably going to shoot a lot. So, I mean, that, to me, that's the biggest thing that I'm trying to focus on anymore, is just teaching people, trying to be nice and do the right things. You show up to a field, somebody else is there, talk to them, work it out, maybe hunt together, go somewhere else, they got it for whatever. We always try to do that wherever we are, is do the right thing, get along, because nobody wants to, the farmer doesn't need a 4:35 a.m. phone call from somebody that's mad, because that's just not going to work for anybody.
Yeah, no, yeah, not the person you want to piss off.
No.
And to add to it, like you talked about taking these people out, and even if they don't become hunters, like we need more people on our side when the votes come. Those people that are on that other side, be patient. Don't say shit back. Just walk away, because you're seeing on TikTok a lot.
I agree
to a point, but you're seeing a lot of these battles on TikTok, and it's just like, man, just leave it alone. Like, there are other guys that are very about it and talking nice, but yeah, you got to be very careful there. Like, yeah.
At some point, got to stop apologizing for what we do and how we do it, and stop trying to not show the other, so glamorous sides of hunting, because no matter what level we try to go, it will never appease the other side. They're always can take and take and take. And eventually you just back somebody in a corner and it's either fight or flight, and um, I, I try to be respectful in the stuff that I show and promote, but I still want to promote the sport as it is.
Of course.
Does that make
Yep. I'm just seeing a lot of these.
give that side an inch and they're going to keep taking an inch, and then pretty soon that inch is going to be a mile, and there's no pleasing them. They just want it gone,
Yeah. That I seen a quote on or a screenshot of a conversation today online, and it was, I don't understand why hunters can't just go to the supermarket and buy their meat where it's made.
Yeah, they just don't get it, don't understand. And I mean, you can educate that. That's ignorance,
Yeah.
You can educate it, it's the people that choose to not be smart that are hard to educate.
Yeah. Mark, last word,
No,
buddy.
It was funny how you brought up about when you meet people in the field, how it's better to talk it out and to figure things out and maybe join together for a hunt. On opening day here in Nova Scotia, we went for our hunt. And one of our buddies got to the field first fairly early. And as he was getting out of his truck, he could see headlamps out in the field. And he was kind of searching around, seeing if he could find a vehicle. He couldn't find a vehicle. And finally, he just yelled out across the fields like, "Hey, do you guys have permission?" Because we knew we had permission because we talked to the custodian who manages the field for the farmer, and he manages a group of fields. And he said no one else has called him for permission. He's the only one they can talk to for permission. So anyway, he called out and said, "Hey, you guys have permission?" The headlamps went off, and he never found them. So we didn't even have the chance to talk to them to see if they wanted to join us for a hunt, because there was only 3 of us. We could have easily squeezed in a couple more. So they just disappeared. They obviously didn't have permission. We never seen hide nor hair after. So it's funny how you brought that up, and we would have been willing to bring those guys in on our hunt, but we never got a chance to talk to them.
They just pop smoke.
Yeah. Respect and morals is a dying trait, I think.
Dave,
but what's that?
Oh, sorry. No, go first, Sean.
I could tell he had more to say there.
Yeah.
Well, I think respect and morals is a dying trait.
It is.
As afraid as I am to admit that, and it's just when I was younger, I'd have a tendency to get a little bit of a hot head or something, with other people. But the older I've gotten, the more it's just like you're not going to win anything. You're better off just getting along and figuring it out out there in the field. And and who knows, man, you might make some really good friends out of this deal.
100%.
Get more contacts. That's why I always, when I was younger, before I started traveling and working in the outdoor industry, there was 5 of us. Yeah, 5 of us. And we'd hunt weekends and maybe one day a week, and during the week, weeknights or whatever. But every night we go spend 15, 20 minutes, you jump in a car and do your little loop wherever we all kind of lived about 15, 20 miles apart. You just go out and do your little loop and get back in and hey, what'd you see? Okay, yeah, the weather looks good for Saturday for that spot. The wind's gonna be right. Let's go hunt there. And you build this network with these people and you get a pretty good crew. And the 3 of us, we all hunt together, and you got 2 or 3 spots. I got 2 or 3 spots. You got 2 or 3. Now we got 9 spots we can pick from. That network there, and who knows? You might meet somebody that might be your best man in your wedding out. You met in a goose field. So it's try to take the high road, and that's just my take on it.
No, it is a good point, buddy. It is. It really is, because you don't know who you're going to meet, and you don't know how that relationship will grow. But if you're going in eyes on fire and full of piss and vinegar, it's probably not going to end exactly the way that it should end, right? Sorry, Dave, I cut you off, buddy.
Yeah, I had
Well,
a pro staff director at a camo company back in the early 2000s. She said to me, she said, she managed deer and turkey and waterfowl and uh, all their different sides and everything. She said, "You waterfowlers are the biggest group of jackasses there are in the industry. Like you guys can't even get along." And I was like, "You're
Yeah.
right.
Mhm.
You're right. I don't know why. What it is. It's just such a competitive sport, but." I mean, at the end of the day, it's a bird, the brain the size of your thumbnail that you're trying to fool, and you're trying to stand on top of this mountain and beat your chest and say I'm king. When you
Yeah.
put it in perspective, let's just get outside and have fun. I get so sick of it. It's I say it all the time. Piles don't make smiles. I don't remember most of the hunts that we went out and just absolutely tore them up and made a big pile. I don't remember them near as much, or if at all, compared to some of the hunts that we just laughed and sat out there the entire day and cooked food and just laughed. I remember those more than I remember the big pile deals. So just remember what at the end of the day, at the end of your time or whatever it is, just remember what was most important.
Mm-hmm. Good point. Mark can attest to this, and being in the military, the hard times of just being miserable and wet and hungry, and those are the times that you remember most, right? As opposed to when everything is easy and falling into place exactly how you want it. Dave, to you,
Nope.
buddy.
yeah, Shawn, thanks for coming on. It's good to hear some perspective and a bit of education on this one too. So that's good. That's what I like that part. So
Shawn,
Wow.
any last words, buddy?
I think I used my word count up, man.
It's all good, buddy. I hope that we can get a chance to have a coffee or something on your travels this fall. I really would. Thanks for coming on again, Shawn. It really means the world to us, especially when I can
Yeah,
give
anytime.
you such short notice and just say, hey, 24 hours before, can you make it? And you're like, yep, I'm good. Just send me the link. And I really, really do appreciate, well, we all appreciate it. And I hope you nothing but success for the year, buddy. And I'll be living vicariously through you this fall as I watch you travel all over the place.
all 107 days of you hunting.
Well, I watched like I follow you all year long. So from when you guys kick off, and I forget the gentleman's name, but there's one gentleman in the Goose crew. He was down in New Brunswick with you, and he's just a hoot, and I love listening to him, and I love
That's
following him.
Phil. That would
Yeah.
be Phil.
Yeah, I love him.
He's captain of the fun truck.
Captain of the fun truck. Yeah, awesome. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the Union 0430. We are exactly as advertised. We will never pretend to be experts. We're just a group of friends that love hanging out, talking about bird hunting, and of course, how awesome the Toronto Maple Leafs are. With that, big love.
He's never coming back on now, you dick.
You should have seen. Did you guys catch the eye roll on Shawn after I said? Big love. Until next time. Take care. Take care of one another and surround yourself with good people.
Peace out.